So I've got one letter to the Secretary General, Meg Taylor, and the OPOC Secretary for gathering us for this timely meeting of the Pacific Ocean Alliance. And I say timely because the UN Ocean Conference is going to be held in Lisbon from the 2nd to 6th of June next year. It's only 8 months away now. Pacific Islands set the bar very high at the first UN Ocean Conference back in 2017. And the world is looking to us for more of the same in Lisbon next year. It's going to embarrass him, but let me say you're in good hands here at OPOC. OPOC's run by a modest man who, in the years he served in New York, led 4 resolutions to consensus adoption in the UN General Assembly. That's a rare achievement for any UN diplomat. In fact, just to lead one is a fairly rare achievement. Such leadership roles at the UN are bestowed upon diplomats whom their peers regard with the utmost trust and respect. So I should also mention that one of those resolutions was the mammoth task of stewarding through the mandating of the existence of the first UN Ocean Conference. So I'm very happy for OPOC that it has people like that working. Secretary General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let us not forget what the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, said to Pacific Island leaders at their meeting. In fact, Meg was there in New York last week. These were not words that were uttered lightly. The Secretary General said that the Pacific Island leaders have a unique moral authority to speak out on the climate crisis. Here in Suva, I would go a further step and say that Pacific Islanders also have a moral obligation to act on climate and ocean change. We have this moral obligation to the world as stewards of the planet's largest expanse of ocean. But more particularly, and I feel this in my bones as a grandfather, we have an obligation in order to keep faith with the Pacific generations whose lives stretch out ahead of us into the great unknown. And stewardship is a hollow concept if we fail them. Secretary General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's truly inspiring to see the high levels to which Pacific Island leadership on ocean issues aspires and is being exercised. This is readily apparent on the world stage. And back here in the Pacific, our regional organizations, SPC, FFA, SPREC, USB, and others, coordinated by OPOC, are moving to meet those aspirations. The national governments are moving to put laws in place to enforce them. Fiji's recent EEZ announcements, including 100% marine spatial plan for its EEZ, have been widely observed around the world and will no doubt be emulated by many. Vanuatu led the charge last year by banning single-use plastics. I was proud to be a Pacific Islander at the SPREC Ministerial in our pier last month when minister after minister announced the single-use plastic bans put in place in their countries and or being now in the process of legislation. And I was heartened to be at the first conference of the Pacific Island Parliaments Group in Papeete last month to witness the adoption of the Tarahoi Declaration with its strong calls for Pacific Parliaments to promote responsible and sustainable fisheries, fight against illegal fishing, reduce marine pollution, establish marine protected areas, and integrate climate and ocean agendas. Secretary General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, do not imagine that the battle to end the plastic plague which has inundated the ocean will be an easy one to win. The plastic industry is planning and investing for a 40% growth over the next decade. Like the tobacco industry before it, the plastic industry is aware of the public's growing dismay. Remedial action is beginning, but greenwashing is also growing. Many big economies have yet to act on the message. Last week in New York, I was shocked by the proliferation of single-use plastics in shops and streets. I know from experience that on days when strong westerlies whip up Manhattan's urban detritus, white plastic bags catch in the trees along the JFK Expressway like strange white fruit. Of course, the rest of these bags go into the East River and out into the ocean to join the plastic tide that has permeated the ocean's fundament, littering beaches and forming great oceanic surface gyres. Even more perniciously, that plastic flotsam is breaking down into plastic microfibers that make their way in virtually invisible legions, propelled by ocean currents and gravity from the planet's icy poles to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. They have permeated the food chain. We are eating them. They are crossing our blood-brain barriers. Again, for our children and grandchildren, we have a moral obligation to take on the battle against plastic pollution. In St. Fiji, Thomson, no surrender on this issue. Secretary General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It's a plastic industry. SDG 14.4 by 2020 calls upon us to effectively regulate harvesting and end overfishing, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, and destructive fishing practices. Calls upon us to implement science-based management plans in order to restore fish stocks in the shortest time feasible, at least to levels that can produce maximum sustainable yield as determined by their biological characteristics. I'd make 2 points here. FAO's last Sophia report showed that we are overfishing 33% of the ocean's fish stocks. In other words, driving them to the lip of extinction. It's not expected that next year's Sophia report will see much change in that overall statistic. The second point is that the South Pacific is performing well in the area of implementing science-based management plans for our fish stocks. Our regional institutions should take a bow for this performance. Don't bow for too long, for we and they know all too well the immensity of the challenges ahead. Illegal fishing, much of which occurs in the Pacific Ocean, steals some $23 billion worth of fish annually. This theft is from governments, from communities, from science, and from nature itself. And we must be united in bringing this scourge to an end. The best weapon we have of doing so is FAO's Port States Measures Agreement, PSMA. And once every Pacific country has ratified it, we can close the Pacific to illegal fishing. Most of the Pacific Rim countries have already ratified PSMA, as have French Polynesia, Fiji, Palau, Tonga, and Vanuatu, with others moving to do so. Yes, there are obligations of enforcement, but they are greatly outweighed by the benefits of ending illegal fishing. Next week, I will be in Geneva to continue SDG 14.6's campaign to end harmful fisheries subsidies. It's calculated that some $20 billion worth of public money is going annually towards fisheries subsidies. And it's sobering to know that over 80% of those subsidies are going to industrial fleets. Some of the latter are out there chasing diminishing fish stocks, and some are engaged in illegal fishing. What kind of insanity is that? We're calling for the $20 billion to be spent instead on assisting coastal communities to face the great challenges that are coming with climate and ocean change. The World Trade Organization has the responsibility of bringing these subsidies to an end, but negotiations in Geneva are making slow progress. Secretary General, Excellencies, and ladies and gentlemen, what I find deeply attractive about the Pacific Ocean Alliance, and indeed why I'm here, is its multi-stakeholder membership and its emphasis on cross-sector cooperation in pursuit of the best outcomes for regional issues. In today's world, we sorely need inclusiveness and partnership, and we need to trust each other. This is the spirit of both the UN Ocean Conferences and indeed of the Samoa Pathway. I urge the Pacific Ocean Alliance to concentrate on solutions to the challenges that we face. It's becoming clearer that the ocean is a critical element of the global solutions to climate change. Last week at the Climate Action Summit in New York, the high-level panel for sustainable ocean economy, of which some of our heads of government are members, it released an interim report setting out 5 ocean-based climate action areas. Ocean-based renewable energy, transport, coastal ecosystems, fisheries, carbon storage, to name a few, which, if fully implemented, could deliver 1/5 of the annual GHG emission cuts needed by 2050 to stay below 1.5 degrees Celsius. So the ocean has been ignored at our peril, but it's being ignored no longer. These findings and other issues will have a central place at the Blue COP in Chile in 2 months' time. I look forward to a strong showing, not just for the ocean, but by the Pacific. And indeed, the Chileans are expecting it. I've been to Santiago recently to meet with President Piñera, and he wants to hear loud and clear from the Pacific that the ocean is a central part of the solutions to our climate challenges. So, Secretary General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development is going to get underway in 2021. I know that regional consultations have taken place here in the new man. The launching of it at the UN Ocean Conference in Lisbon next year will be boosted by the fact that the conference's central theme is indeed scaling up of ocean science and innovation. We, here in the Pacific, have much to gain and to give the UN Decade of Ocean Science. Pacific Islands are dotted like ready-made observing stations around the ocean. We must seize what is offered by the decade through partnerships to strengthen our regional institutions, fill the gaps in our data, and train our young people. To young Pacific Islanders, I would say this is a burgeoning career opportunity, so get involved. It's not rocket science, it's ocean science. In other words, it's a field that's far more important to humanity's survival than rocket science. And of course, Pacific Island youth are naturally endowed in that they have the ocean all around them. So, Secretary General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, let me say that we cannot have a healthy planetary ecosystem without a healthy ocean ecosystem. And yet at times it seems that humanity is doing its best to destroy the latter. Our greenhouse gas emissions, changing the chemistry and temperature of the ocean, is a great detriment of life therein and on its shores. We dump our pollution, industrial, agricultural and sewage into rivers and coastal waters. We willfully overexploit the resources of the ocean. This has to stop. And the Pacific Islands have the moral authority, and I say again, the moral obligation, to lead the way through global messaging, global action, and walking the talk back here in the islands. Of course, it's true, the question of adding any new stressors to the ocean's ecosystem. We must view decisions on them through this lens of morality. We have a clear plan to stay faithful to the Paris Climate Agreement and the UN's 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. In particular, implement the targets of SDG 14, the ocean goal that requires us to conserve and sustainably manage the ocean's resources. Let sustainability be the overriding principle in our decision-making so that we do indeed meet our moral obligations to our grandchildren. In the Pacific, we're blessed with strong regional institutions for oceanic responsibilities. Let us strengthen them further, bring them into partnership for the common good with philanthropies, NGOs, and other friends from beyond our shores. And let us back the work of OPOC and the Pacific Ocean Alliance. We have something special here, so let's treasure it as we set out on the road to Lisbon and the process of restoring balance and respect to humanity's relationship with the ocean. Thank you for your attention.